Hello and welcome to the Steve Kalis Show. I'm Steve Kalis and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit before we begin this episode. Ordinarily, you would hear a lot more of Kevin and I. Kevin and I tend to do these interviews, especially these difficult interviews about difficult topics. But for the most part, I've decided to get out of the way of the speaker, Ben. Ben's story is important. I can feel it. His journey is harrowing. It's very, very shocking. Now, we recorded for nearly an hour, and in that hour, Kevin and I told anecdotes and told jokes, and it was a three-way, very, very good conversation. But for this episode, I've cut a lot of me and Kevin out of it. There's still a lot of Kevin and his brilliant questions, but what I want to do was just give you Ben's story, because I think it's an incredible, very unique story that I want you all to hear and absorb. And you don't need to hear about me and Kevin and our lives and our anecdotes. There's 100 episodes of the Steve Kalis Show where you can listen to those sorts of things. So just before we start, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Graham's Windows and Doors. Graham's Windows and Doors are Yeovil's finest purveyor of windows, doors and conservatories. They really are the best place in Yeovil to go to get windows, doors and conservatories. They're an incredible family-run company, and we're so grateful for their help and support in running the podcast. And if you enjoy this episode, there's ways that you can support us. You can go to Spotify, click follow, leave us a 5-star review, or if you like this episode and you want other people to hear Ben's story and be inspired by it, let us know on Instagram at the Steve Kalis Show what you thought of it. Tag us in posts about it, share it to your story. Those things will help Ben to get his story heard and will help us too. That's all I wanted to say, just a little bit of housekeeping. And now I'll get right out of the way so you can listen to Ben's story.
From 2005, I was diagnosed with epilepsy. It was the day after my 15th birthday. I remember it vividly. Obviously, dealt with that over the years. Been sort of in and out of being well controlled, etc. And then it got to, fast forward to 2019. I was having some complications with medications and stuff. And because of that, I started having seizures in the night, which I hadn't had before. And at the time, I had a dog who I'd had for 10 years from a puppy, got him for my 21st birthday. And this one particular seizure, I still to this day can't explain it. He, whether he was scared or just, frightened, I'm not sure, but he ended up doing a lot of damage to my face during my seizure. And in that seizure, I lost my nose, a load of the tissue around my teeth, around my lips and chin. And since then I've just been on a sort of journey, having it reconstructed and trying to come to terms with things. So when it happened, my dog was taken away by the police, where he was assessed by them, just to see, is he dangerous? And they said that he wasn't. It was a sort of a freak accident kind of thing. And he was actually, he was rehomed by a retired couple who they just lost their dog. They met him, fell in love with him, and they knew what had happened, all about the background of things. They decided to take him on, and he's been living a great life with them.
That's good.
And I know it's very controversial. People say like this sort of thing, the dog should be put down straight away, and I respect that opinion. But that's not what happened in this case, and
So you're glad of that? It's not like you wanted then. It's not like you were advocating for it to be put down.
No, absolutely not. I couldn't. I've felt, since it happened, I've felt very guilty about rightly or wrongly, I felt very guilty about my dog being put in that situation, and it's something I've really struggled with. But the fact that he's been able to have a good rest of his life, he's 14 now, and he's still living a great life. So I'm
well,
grateful.
that's something.
I'm grateful for that.
Afterward, did you come to then in the hospital afterwards?
No, so I came to at home after the seizure. And I don't really remember it, but I've obviously, because anyone who doesn't know, after you come around from a seizure, you're totally on a different planet. You don't know what your name is. You don't know where you are, what day it is, anything. And I had obviously done a fair few laps around my house because my house was just absolutely plastered in blood top to bottom. So I've obviously gone around very confused. And then when I've regained a little bit of a sense of what's going on, I remember seeing a lot of blood. Wasn't really sure where it's coming from. I knew it was bad. So then I did call the ambulance. Couldn't really talk. I knew that wasn't good.
Where was the dog at this point?
So I put him away in the kitchen.
Right, okay.
Just because he was still very uptight and not aggressive, but he's fussing me, and managed to call the ambulance. Paramedic turned up. I think it was just a paramedic in a car initially, who then called for an ambulance. And then I made my way out to the ambulance, and after that it's such a blur. I don't really. I remember being in Yeovil Hospital. There was a lot of people around. They were taking pictures and stuff to send to Taunton Hospital. Then got transferred up there and went into a 10-hour operation to try and just piece me back together as best as they could. And then that night I came round on the ward, and I was on my own. I didn't have any family around at that point because they hadn't been allowed in. And the nurse said to me, here's a mirror. That's going to be a bit of a shock. And obviously I took the mirror, I had a look, and it was...
How did you feel?
If I'm being brutally honest, I wished I hadn't made it through. It's that feeling of knowing that your whole life and everything, how you know life to be, is gone. It's not ever going to be the same again. You're not sure how you're going to make it through, if you're going to make it through. It was indescribable, really.
I mean, testament to yourself, you did make it through. And just to give a sort of break it down into stats, as you sit in front of me now, looking pretty good.
Thank you.
How many operations from then to now to get you to this point from the mirror?
It's in double digits. I don't have an exact number.
I hate getting put under. How horrible.
I would guess 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there.
They obviously had a mental toll on you. Do you think that the strength that you gained from that over the years that helped with what came after the incident? Because that also required a hell of a lot.
Yeah, possibly.
A hell of a lot. That's understating it. And
good question. Because maybe your mental toughness has been honed for a long time prior to that, maybe equipping you well enough to be able to deal with it now.
Yeah, possibly. I've always just attribute any strength I have. I attribute to my mum. She's incredible.
Shout out to mum.
Yeah.
Shout out to mum.
At the risk of sounding like a mummy's boy, but I don't really care. But yeah, me and my sister grew up with my mum as a single parent, and she's incredible. And I just kind of copied her really on what she's taught me, and it's stood me in good stead so far. So I'm very grateful to her.
Where are you at now? So where is it in your journey that you're at? Like, how are you feeling? What's your plan? I mean, are you feeling mentally and emotionally an improvement upon, say, last year? I mean, where are you now?
So right now,
other than in this mangy garage,
two big fat sweaty men
sweating your ass off.
Yeah. I would say it's cooling down a bit. I don't know if it's
it's cooling down a little bit. Yeah, it's because we're so cool, chill.
Yeah. Where am I at? That's a good question. I have good days and bad days. I'm certainly better than I was last week, or last week and last year. The bulk of all the heavy operations are done. It's kind of more smaller, tweaky, more cosmetic operations going forward now. And also you probably notice I got tubes in still, because when I don't have them in, the nostrils, they close in, so I can't breathe.
Is that just like a cartilage in there? That sort of.
Yeah, so I've got the structure in there. Got the main bone down the middle, which came from my hip, which is bolted in there, and then cartilage from my ribs either side. But it's basically like the nose is such thin tissue. It's very difficult to recreate that with skin taken from anywhere else.
Oh, I see.
And the way they have to do the nose reconstruction is it's basically in 3 layers. So you've got the bottom layer, which came from my arm there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to have that initially. So they take that along with the artery that goes up there, and that's tattooed. So
I see a free tattoo in there.
So I had a lump of tattoo skin on my face for quite a while, and they connect that artery down to your artery in your neck.
Oh.
And then the middle layer is like the structure. So you can either have cadaver bone or bone from your rib or your hip or wherever they decide to take it from. And then you have the top layer, which is where the forehead scar, and they basically turn. If they cut this shape out and turn it, sort of flip it, and stitch it over the top. So that's how you end up with 3 layers.
Oh, that's why it's in there. Right.
Yeah.
And so for quite a long time last year and the year before, because they have to keep the forehead flap connected with like a
sort of bridge.
Ends up being a lump that sort of hangs over your eye, and I was only supposed to have that for a few months really, but it ended up being about 10 months. And it was, that was awful, that bit.
You've gone through everything you've gone through to date. What's left in terms of surgery?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Do they tell you, or do you just go in every day and they come up with something new? By the way, we've got this guy coming over from, and you're like, oh, God.
Yeah, one of the main things at the minute is, as I mentioned, the tubes, trying to enable me to be able to breathe normally. Because having these is horrendous. And then after that, I think there's been talk about a couple of months ago, I did have some lipo filler, which where they take fat out of your stomach and they put it in my chin. So I've got kind of like was just misshapen where tissue was taken. So it's just more cosmetic stuff like that. And they're also thinking about ways that I can have a scar on my forehead, either reduced in size or gone completely, which would be awesome. So yeah, it's just stuff like that, really.
That's no more put you to sleep, start breaking stuff, and
there will be. I probably will be asleep, but I don't mind that bit. To be fair,
snooze.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, you have a bad day. What do you have to do? What do you have to tell yourself? What tools do you have to implement to get through a day like that, if any? I mean, do you just sort of grind it out, or is there things where you say to yourself, well, no, this is the case, this is true, this is happening soon? Like, is there things you put in place to help you?
I'd love to have a list of really good things that I do. But truthfully, I haven't figured it out for me yet. I can wake up just feeling shit, really. You don't want to get out of bed. The thought of going to work fills you with dread. Seeing people leaving the house even. And I try and take a step back and just talk to myself about, try and just rationalise things. But honestly, I haven't found anything yet that just helps to alleviate that struggle, really. And I kind of just battle on in the hopes that I know that it'll go eventually, and just keep going and just sort of struggle with it, really.
Are there any other, like, obviously you see people burn victims, they usually find that they'll say, please talk to people from this group if you... Is there anyone that you can talk to that even has a vague idea of what you went through? Because it's quite the thing.
It's one thing, actually, that as I've been going through the surgeries, I have looked through to see if I can find any groups or people and there are certain people that have been through a similar thing, but there's not that many.
No, I can't imagine.
And so that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to just talk about my thing, just so hopefully it helps someone else.
The message you have is, and it's not news to you, but here you are still. You say, oh, fucking hell, work, go to work, on a bad day you have to go to work, find your strength to do these things. Still, you found you wouldn't be the first person to have had those thoughts and then not been able to go to work that day, or not been able to function, or not been able to cope, or not even been able to get as far down the line as you've got now. A much weaker man didn't survive the first few weeks, didn't survive the first 6 months, and here you are. So maybe with self-reflection, you should give yourself much more credit than you seem to be giving yourself, because you've obviously got the tools you need to have gotten this far. You haven't thrown them away. You still got them.
Like, you sounds of it, you've been fighting since you were 15 in some way or another.
Oh Christ, yeah, the epilepsy thing is scary. But you've also got, like I said, the love and support of your mum. Yeah. And all those people, those
mums
things
rule.
Mums do rule. But those are things that they can prop you up, even if you find you have difficulty recalling and remembering those things at a time, because it's not like you go, I'm depressed, okay, well, at least my mum loves me, at least this is good, this is good, but at least there must be some unconscious scaffolding there that keeps you marching through. If not that, then just sheer brute fucking pig-headed mentality just to survive, I guess, and get through.
Yeah.
And then here you are, things are much better than they were last year. Next year, things will be much better than they are this year. But I think what your power will be going forward, especially with like TikTok and Instagram and stuff, is saying to people, look, still here. Look what I'm doing. Look what you can do if you're in a situation. Look what, and inspiring and motivating people, I suppose, to wake them up and then go, oh, fuck, it's not that bad. I can get through it. You know what I mean? That's a real sort of gift you can give people there.
You can. One person. It only takes one person to see that one day and get the right message.
Yeah, and go, oh, fucking hell, all right, I'll go to work, I'll get out of bed, I'll make up with that person, that's it, that's good.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's good. So what is the plan for you going forward? Just sort of, I mean, do you have goals outside of, wanting to sort of motivate people with this, and, what, do you have other goals and stuff that you're hoping to achieve? And that could be sort of, as long as it's not too personal to share on a podcast, but like, personal life or work life, is there things that you still think, I'd like for that to improve or to get there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a good question.
Maybe one worth, not on the podcast, but maybe one worth sort of contemplating anyway. Just
yeah. I think I've been so kind of
day by day.
Yeah, caught up in surviving without sounding too dramatic. That
it's so dramatic, mate.
It's, all the kind of aspirational things that they fall to the wayside a little bit. But it's definitely food for thought, and I'm obviously doing these few charity events that are coming up.
So what's that? So. What's the charity events?
Yeah, so just going back to the surgeries. When I started the surgeries up in Bristol, Southmead, and they probably did 4 or 5 surgeries, I think, by a specialist up there. Obviously, you can probably imagine that specialists that do this kind of thing are pretty hard to come by. And it got to a certain point. It was a bad time, actually. That some of the donor bone that I just had put in had become infected.
Ooh.
So a lot of the structure and tissue that was like there and I thought was healing had to all be taken out. And then the specialist there then said that he was leaving the NHS to go private only. And I was just like, shit.
Oh.
I don't have the money for private.
Especially not that kind of money.
Yeah. I was in the surgeon he was working with there, sort of, he did try and carry it on himself, but it was kind of a bit beyond him because it wasn't his specialty. It's not his fault. And then I found myself at a point where I was like, what do I do now? Like, I've just had all this stuff reversed, like it's all taken out. Got no surgery to carry on. And I really just wanted to give up with it all because it was getting too much. And that's when Exeter Hospital, Dr. Reimer down there, he stepped in and took over, and he just since then he's been just absolutely fantastic. I can't praise Exeter Hospital enough. And so just to try and just say thank you in some little way, I am doing 4 charity events over August and September, just to raise a bit of money for Exeter Hospital. So
Excellent.
Yeah,
that's good. That's great.
Yeah, so cool. Got the first one coming up this weekend on Saturday.
What's that? What were you doing?
That's the Southwest Coast Ultra 50k.
Ooh.
And then doing Tough Mudder Southwest the Saturday after, and then in September I'm doing Tough Mudder Birmingham, and then the week after the Thames 50k. So
Fucking hell.
What do you do for fun?
yeah, so
Wow.
a bit nervous, but yeah, it should be a laugh.
Yeah. Fucking hell. How do you feel having talked about it? I mean, does it, does it dredge up unsettling feelings, or are you able? Do you have some kind of sort of mastery over the story at least?
Yeah, I think in a way it's it does. I've said it before, but it does feel kind of cathartic to talk about it. Just make the whole thing more public, I guess, and yeah, and like you said, just kind of own it. I think things become a lot easier to live with when you own them. So yeah, it's so far it's been good. Obviously, I started the TikTok, and that I was quite surprised with the engagement that got.
Yeah, what the fuck, man?
Yeah,
Took him years.
Yeah, I've done it for years. And you're soaring to international superstardom, and I'm still
I got
trying
just the thing. You get your nose taken off.
Yes. How committed are you, Stephen?
Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Let's say someone reached out to you tomorrow and said, man, 2 days ago, this traumatic thing happened to me. It's really, really traumatic. Physically or mentally traumatic. What do I do now? How do I carry on? How do I move forward? Whether you can answer this now or later on, totally up to you. But what would you say to that person? They're desperate. Like you said, when you looked into the mirror, your sense of what your life is, how things are going to unfold, are totally different. They've changed. You don't know how. It's sort of scary and new. So a person like you messages you and says, "What do I do now? How do I move forward?" What do you think you would say to someone like that? I mean, it's a very heavy question to put you on the spot with.
Yeah, especially the last one.
I know he's a controversial figure these days, but there's a Jordan Peterson book I read a few years ago who said you have to pick up your struggles and carry them uphill. And that's one thing it's stuck with me. I just think is it pride? I guess it is, in a way. The pride you can feel in yourself from overcoming what's happened to you, knowing that it's gonna build your strength as well. And just again, just own it. It's not going to be easy. But when you can look back in months, years, whatever it might be, you look back and say, "I did that." It's a powerful thing, I would say.
I'd say so too. Yeah. And you're right about Jordan Peterson is like there's two Jordan Petersons in my mind, right? There's the guy who wrote the books who's a fucking genius, right? And there's every young man should read those books because they're fucking excellent. And then there's a Jordan Peterson on Twitter who keeps calling Elmo a wanker and fucking
It's like someone's drunk uncle found social media,
and you go like, "Fucking hell, Jordan, you just concentrate on helping people, will you? Because you're very
you're
good
doing
at that."
so well.
Yeah, I first found him when I think it was 2018. I'd just come out of a long-term relationship and I was pretty lost. And that's when I first read his book, and it really, back then, I hadn't ever come across anything that was sort of spoken to young men specifically as well.
Yeah, that's it.
And it really struck a chord with me.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, I'm not really sure what happened to him
Because weird, isn't it?
through COVID. And
if you'd
and all that,
read his books like tomorrow and go, God, what a great thinker, what a powerful, important
I'd
man.
love to speak to
I'm
him.
just going to quickly go on his Twitter and have a look, see what he's all about. And he's like, attacking trans girls for having too many cats, or he's just really having a pop at Elmo, or he's going like, hey Disney, you think you can buy me? It's just like he's just on a mad one. But but underneath it, but the actual core advice it undermines his work because people don't take his work seriously because of
because that's quite profound.
Yeah. Mate, it's the 12 Rules for Life.
Yeah.
Fucking A, man. Excellent, man. Audiobook, and I've got the audiobook and physical book. That's how good I think rate that. But yeah,
and
that's
don't underestimate the void you would leave if you that's another one.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
That's another one that I thought about often.
Especially for a mummy's boy.
Yeah,
man,
for sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, listen, mate, if you're happy.
Yeah.
You happy?
Yes.
Well, listen, firstly, I think you are a much more...
Fucking nails.
Also a much more compelling storyteller than you think you are. It's like fucking... Like I said, Kev normally talks more than any other human being on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking or not.
Yeah.
But you've managed to keep him quiet and concentrating.
I appreciate that. I wasn't sure how... I tend to go on and not really say my point, and then but I'm glad I managed to.
Yeah, you're in good company.
That's all right.
That's my entire podcast. Is that, essentially. So, but I want to thank you firstly for sharing the story with us here. That actually is a huge honour, and whenever people choose to share stories with us here, we always want to take care of the story and do it justice and stuff. And we're very honoured that you would choose to talk to us about it.
I'm really grateful you had me on.
Oh, mate, it's a pleasure. I think we've all lost about 4.5 stone in heat in this sauna.
Not from anywhere good, though.
No, just from like my intellect. So not from like my brain. Yeah. And Kevin, damn fine job co-hosting as always.
Thank you.
Good to see you, mate. And listener, if you could please do us a favour, go to Spotify, leave us a 5-star review, click that follow button. We want to be the UK's #1 podcast, and we can only get there with your help. So please consider click and follow, leaving us a 5-star review, subscribing wherever you're watching or listening to this. We really appreciate it. Thank you, boys. Thank you for joining me tonight. And listener, thank you. We'll see you next week. Ciao, 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 ciao.
Touchy bye.
Thank you.